Mm-hmm. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Conversations in the Den. And today we're going to be speaking with Martin Keane. Martin is a gentleman and a very well-known member of the Canadian national men's basketball team from 1989 to 2001. He's very well known in the basketball community, not only as a player, but also as a coach. And now he is the general manager of the Vancouver Dragons. Now, Martin is speaking with us today because in 2012, Martin had a brain aneurysm. So we want to speak to him about that and get some interaction so that people can understand, you know, what cerebral aneurysms are and how they affect not only the person who has the aneurysm, but also their family and friends. Yeah. Jennifer, my co-host Jennifer Martin.
Yes.
Yeah, and I am
my co-host Jennifer Wolfenden.
Yes.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Martin.
Yes.
So Martin, it's good to meet you. You have quite a story. Would you mind telling me the start of when this all happened? Would you mind starting? Yeah.
Yeah, so it happened in 2014 rather, February 2nd. It was, you know, I'm not a drinker. I used to when I was young, but not drinking, not smoking. I was meditating, and I was getting ready to go to my friend's Super Bowl party the following day. And I was watching Dr. Oz, and I just meditated. You know, Dr. Oz, great guy. And all of a sudden, I remember waking up in the morning when my head hit the ground, and my kids saw me. My kids were 2 and 4 at that time. They said, "Hey, are you okay?" And all I said was, I couldn't muster any words. So I rushed to the hospital, went to, I won't call any.
How did you get to the hospital?
By ambulance. It was 911.
Okay.
You know, they saw my leg shaking, you know, that's one of the signs. And when I went there on the way to the hospital in Durham, they realized, hey, this is more serious. We got to go to St. Mike's. Went to St. Mike's. It was on a Saturday. Went through the operation, not knowing anything that happened. I'm telling you, I'm just going by what people told me.
Yeah, what you
and went into surgery.
Sorry, can I ask a question? So
Sure.
Were you unconscious at this time?
I was I was conscious but could not remember. Okay. Sort of semi-comatose state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And went to St. Mike's, went through all the procedures. I had Dr. Michael Cusimano, who's the leading neurologist in Canada. I was lucky. He does those type of level of doctors don't work on weekends. So I was lucky. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I've learned, which one of the things I've learned, which is very important, is a Glasgow Coma Scale. Glasgow Coma Scale, your GCS, is basically your scale of your brain, right? From 0 to 15.
Okay. So how do you measure that?
So it goes 0 through 15. So as we're talking, ladies, and whoever's on, we are coherent. I would say we're 14 or 15.
Okay.
And when you get down to 9, that's when emergency procedures drop everything, emergency. So I asked Dr. Michael Cusimano, who's a good friend of mine now, and I said to him, what was I? He goes, Martin, you were a 3. So my next question to him was, what about 1 and 2? He calmly looks over and he says, there are none. So I studied more. I did a lot of studying.
Martin, would that be dead? 1 or 2 would be dead?
Right. So essentially, not brain dead, respirator type of thing. So technically, he could have said, hey, I don't have to operate on you. By the guidelines, you're a 3. So I had the medical people in my family and said, hey, you got to try and do something. He did. I came out of it unscathed, which is, I pray to God, because, you know, to survive is 86% of the people who have what I went through, what I explained, die.
Okay,
And
now can I ask you another question? Sorry, did you have a rupture or a bleed?
I still have the aneurysm. It didn't
Okay,
rupture.
so it's a thinning of the artery.
It's the bulging of the artery.
Oh,
There's
the bulging, okay.
a cherry cluster on the artery, on the vein. So I said to him, if I had the artery, if I still have the aneurysm, why did you put that god awful scar, 88 stitches in my head?
You know?
He said, Martin, I would have blinded, you would have been blind. If you took the aneurysm off the lens, that big, strong lens, there's a big lens, the two eyes hold the eyeball.
Okay.
If he did any procedures on that, he would risk blindness. So I immediately thanked him. I could have hugged and kissed him, but so essentially,
That was before COVID, obviously.
I'm a loving guy. There's too much hate out there. Yes, love him, kiss him, man. I said to him, I love you, thank you. And what we are doing. So right now I have 4 millimeters. So from what I understand, they said when it gets to 7, that's when they go up into the artery of the leg, which is the biggest artery, they say, and go through the cavity of the chest, and then go up to my brain, and then stint it. Stint it meaning put it like how you do pancakes. Yeah, so it doesn't burst out with blood or hemorrhage.
Okay.
So
how long can you live with that?
we're gonna try to live until the wheels fall off.
I hear you.
Yeah, it's a delicate thing. I'm in always a high pressured. I'm a coach. I'm a general manager. I work with the Canadian government in reforming 10 kids back to their prospective home in 5 years, which that was a lot. And many people would say, hey, it was because of that. We don't know, because in aneurysms, they're still researching, and I'm still searching. I'm reading about the brain. And so now what we want to, I always tell the people who survive, and I feel so guilty because the people I look at, they're messed up, they're disabled, they're not functioning.
Now let me explain something to you. Jennifer and I are both stroke survivors, and what I want to say to you is, don't feel guilty. Your job here is not done, Martin.
Yes,
so you have to look at that
yes.
perspective. You know, whatever plan God has for you, He has for you. And,
amen.
You know, so don't feel any guilt. All you have to do is take care of yourself and do your best that you can, and make sure that you stay on top of it. So,
so every year,
just hearing this now, I'm actually a bit concerned, just not being sure how this can affect you. This rupture, this bulge, can it burst?
Can it burst?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So
to prevent that?
So the main thing is what we want. We would like to know the warning signs. So they told me that do crossword puzzles, do trivias, eat blueberry, eat dark chocolate, eat a lot of the essential things that help the mind. Omega-3s, eat that. The fish oils, eat omega-12s, your B12s, your B6, B12s, all of that. So I'm on this really health kick to for everything.
I think I understand that.
Yeah,
Martin,
for everything.
Martin, can I ask you something? You said the children were 2 and 4. No, you're still married. Am I correct?
Not married, but I'm an active father, and I'm there. I'm committed. I'm always there for kids.
So tell me about the children. They were 2 and 4. They're 10 and 12 now. No.
Yes, 11, about to be 11 and 9.
11 and 9. But tell me something, Martin. After the aneurysm and after you got out of the hospital,
sure.
How did things go in your family with your wife and the children? The children were really small. What symptoms did you bring home that you had to integrate into the family? And how did that work?
you know, I hate the phrase "I'm going to be honest" because that's all I am is honest.
Yeah.
I'll just be straightforward. It's very, very. It's a culture shock again because you're coming in now. Whoever's in the home has got. You're not going to be the same. You're not going to be regular. You're going to be needy. You're going to be people have to nurture you.
Yes, you need a moment of grieving. Because
Grieving.
you may have
I went
lost
to
some.
psychologists. I went to the psychologist. Like it's structured. The Canadian system is structured. When you get out, you go and see your sociologist, psychologist, figure out the best ways to cope in your daily life.
Yes.
So tell me this, on day one, you came out of the hospital, you've got this big, this big ugly bandage on your head. Your child, is it the girl that was 2 or the boy?
The girl was 2, yeah.
Oh, Martin, can
and
I
they
ask
saw
her,
that.
can I ask her name?
Anaya Martina.
Anaya. Okay, and your son, what's his name?
Emmanuel Mandela.
Okay, so Anaya and Emmanuel, they see you. Daddy's got a big bandage. When you see that look on their face, what are you thinking?
Well, my kids, you know, hey, I cried. I'm surprised I'm not crying now. I mean, it's a hell of an experience, but they always know. I always say, do you remember where Daddy was? They'll point exactly where I was. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this, that, and the third. But I said, hey, at least my kids know what to do if somebody falls down. You
Absolutely.
know, yes.
They know, call 911, don't get off the phone, follow instructions. And they had a 101 course on handling emergency that just came.
Okay, now I have a question. Did they go to counseling?
No, and that's good. That's good. That's a great question. No, they didn't. I'm no doctor, but I would. I think I would say yes, they should. You know, and
You spoke to them.
Oh yes, oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
oh yes, 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 yes. It was crazy because they always say in the street music or rap music, you know one until someone kills you or you die. That's when you see how much people love you and how much people recognize what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got it.
Martin, I want to ask you. Sorry, go ahead. I want to ask you something, Martin. When I had my stroke, I did not know that I was different. But the reaction
What do you mean?
of people,
What do you mean different? That's interesting. What do you mean different?
I didn't know that I was a different person. I didn't know that I was interacting different. I didn't know that my mental capacity to comprehend and to conversate was different. But it was the reaction of people around me that told me that I was different. Did you have that? Yes.
I teach my kids, look at the eyes. No one could lie. You can be whatever you want to be, but the eyes will give you more a clue as if that person's real. And at the end of the day, it's so many things. It disrupts your love life, marriage life, your routine. You're not the same. And the interesting thing, when they did that test with me, I was at Bridgepoint. Bridgepoint, I love them. Anybody, I give them 100%. All McGill trained, I love them. And they ask you questions. Hey, at 2:00 in the morning, if you see a fire, what are you gonna do? I said, I'll get my pillow and sleep on the freaking lawn. What do you think I'm going to do? So when I'm a very upfront individual, and I'm very sharp. I'm more sharper now, and that was more striking to them. They said, boy, take it easy. They said the first thing that they said when I got out of surgery, they said, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. I actually got up and they said, oh my God, you're not going home. I said, says who? She goes, I'll call security. I said, you better bring 8 of them. And it's, oh, no, calm down. So I showed them aggression that I didn't want to be there, but they knew my heart. And when I left there, they all cried.
Now, how
Right?
long were you there?
You usually when you go through an aneurysm episode, it's like 7 weeks at least.
Oh, okay.
At least. I broke all the records, and I say that proudly because I was telling them I knew my body, and you look at the stuff.
You've been an athlete all these years.
Pardon?
I said you've been an athlete all these years.
Right. And thank God, because I was looking at this dial and it tells you these numbers and you have to say 6, 5, 14, da. And then you have to see these other numbers in your peripheral vision and touch the lit buttons. You got to stand on one leg, balance a ball. You got to go shopping by yourself, right? With a monitor, a person representative from the hospital.
Oh, okay.
And series of tests, a lot of doctors in the morning, and how are you? And they talk to you like you're something wrong. And I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. And so what I did was,
and I know we've all been there where they kind of make you feel like you're 5, but you're not. It's just that you're a little bit slower to get the 30-year-old out, but it's too slow for them. Martin, I want to ask you a different question.
Yeah.
Now, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Sure.
How different was that? You were married at that time. How did you see yourself being different in marriage? Because I know I was different. I suffered fatigue. I was slower to comprehend. I was slower to talk. And seriously, to be honest with you, fatigue and sex don't work.
You think?
Hey, we men have got to know that because a woman decides when to do, when not to do, to give life and take life, right? So yeah. I always tell guys to give, just remember that. And I want to say this. I want to say this off the cuff. Very important.
Okay.
A lot of guys, a lot of people, we have a high rate of divorce, right? And a lot of the people out there, men are pissed off, mad, and whatever. But I look at it as a practical sense. The woman gave birth, and I think there's a confusion of 50-50. I don't think there's a 50-50. I think it's more like a 60-40, and what you get within reason, fairly, that should be divided.
My question is, was your partner at the time afraid?
Yeah, I mean, she cried. I was a handful.
Afraid to have intimacy with you. Afraid to be intimate.
You know what? It wasn't even a thought. I just wanted to walk. Honestly, I just wanted to. I didn't even know if I was going to get up again, and I just gave thanks to God. I went to church, and when the whole congregation, 1,500 people, was looking at you and said, "Hey, we prayed for you," it sends chills up your spine, And then I went to Washington and saw my cousin father who suffered the same thing, and he was all twisted up in a wheelchair, and he looked at me like, "Man, we went through the same thing. How come you're not?" And that's why I said earlier I felt guilty, because I felt, in a good way.
Yes.
And Martin, I know what you're saying about the guilty, because I remember I had my stroke in May, and in November I went to a stroke conference, and I sat
May
beside,
when? Sorry, May when? When?
May 2010. May 2010.
Oh.
And then the November 2010, I went to a stroke conference. I sat beside two women. One, the left hand didn't work, and the other one on my right, her right hand didn't work. Both of them were in wheelchairs. Now here I was suffering with terrible fatigue. You know what that is. It's that feeling of looking well, but you can't get up and walk fast. It's that feeling of looking well, but you can't even pour your own coffee. So
Right.
I remember serving them coffee because my hand and feet worked. But then I went to my room, Martin, and I cried bitterly. And my question to God was this: how come my hands and feet work and theirs don't work? What is going on? And you know what? And you know what I figured out from that, and I think you're alluding to that.
Yeah.
We have been set aside for work, and we've got to take that seriously. If our hands and feet work because of the power of prayer, we better be using them. If our body
Yeah.
works, if our mind works, if our eyes work, if our mouth work, we better be making good use of it.
Oh yes. This incident that happened to me was more. You still there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
This incident that happened to me. I lived in China for last 8 years. Seen things that we will never see over here. I'm glad that I seen that to make me as a better person. But when I went over there, I met a very famous Buddhist monk, and he wanted me to see me after 2014, and said, "Hey, bring him here. There's a tall black man in the mainland China. Bring him here. Bring him here." And I kept saying, I was raised Christian. I didn't want to, experiment.
Yeah,
And
the Buddhism thing.
and I went there, and it's all in the book. But I tell you, a series of events happened, like supernatural experiences. The man told me everything of what happened. He knew what I'm telling you. He knew. And let me tell you, he waved off like he was a very famous master. If I tell you who his one famous person in this world, you wouldn't believe. But the main purpose is that he saw the need for me to come and tell this and sit with him.
Yeah.
And they knew what I was doing for their country in the name of Canada. And it was a significant time, very significant, because he wanted to see me before, but he demanded to see me after.
Wow.
So at this time you were coaching in China?
Yeah, because when I was coaching, uplifting the youths, that's always a bonus, right? Because it's a win-win. It's always a win-win.
Yeah.
So I dealt with those kids. So, I just kept it basic. I dealt with a lot of rich kids, and I said, look, if you ain't gonna listen, go get somebody else. I didn't make no ifs, ands, and buts about that. It was a mindset. We stuck by it. We won 9 championships last year, and they're using that blueprint for their life.
Congratulations, Martin. Listen, Martin,
Thank you.
we are almost out of time. You've been doing some great work, but I want to ask you to leave you with the last word before we conclude. What would you say to someone in your shoes that's had a brain aneurysm and have small children? What would be the one piece of advice you would give to them that have small children?
Keep falling deeper in love with your kids, and take lots of pictures, because I use the pictures and put it on the windowsill. My window's facing the east. I always rise up with the sun, and to see the kids, that gave me the energy. So the doctor said the greatest thing that they saw with me as the patient was the willpower. And so I told them, they asked me the same question that you're asking, and I said, talk to your patient. Don't go by statistics and what you did, because if you did, and I didn't have someone there to back me up, I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
Yeah.
Martin, it's so great talking to you. I feel like we've just scratched the surface with you. Will you come back again at some point?
Absolutely, Maria. I always talk to Maria, and I did the clip on the Disability Channel, and
I saw that.
yes, we want to get it's always comforting when you're lonely and you know, I dealt with mental illness, right? And taking care of the government's kids, and people are on medication, and depression is serious out there.
Very
And
serious.
if I can sit down and talk to you to where you won't want to kill yourself, hey, we can sit down all night. I'll drop everything. But it's real out there, real scary, you know.
Martin, you have a big, beautiful heart. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you, and I want to hear more about your stories too. Like, yes, absolutely. I want to hear more about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, first,
You gotta come back. You gotta come back.
So,
I will definitely. Can I? Are you guys going to be taping this?
It's already being taped. Yes.
Yes.
I